Welcome back. As Klal Yisrael is learning and reminding themselves that their time in Mitzrayim was not to serve human masters, but indeed to learn what it means to serve a master. As they're being reminded by miracles that the physical around them means nothing unless clearly shown by them that this is the intent of their master, they were almost ready to leave. But as we know, there were two more steps to show them what it means to toe the line, to show them what it means that on one hand they have to look at the physical as absolutely nothing. They have to perceive the physical as mere cover-up of what's really going on around them, and see that everything is in reality is Hashem's will, and everything around them happens only by Hashem's will. On the other hand, they had to learn what it means to take the physical around them and put it into Hashem's service. And in order for them to do that, first there was two steps. Step number one was Dam Milah. They had to go do the mitzvah of bris milah, something that would ingrain in them forever and ever, that even their own body, the ultimate physical being, the ultimate understanding what it means to be a physical being in this world, is incorporated in the human body, the most powerful being in the world. And not only that, this human body can recreate, and in that specific scenario, they had to go and do a bris milah to show that the physical, they understood that the physical is in service of Hashem, their master. They also had to do the Korban Pesach. They had to show that they understood that not only were they going to be the ultimate servants individually, not only were each and every one of them going to be put in a position where they could become the ultimate servants, but indeed they were going to become a nation of servants. They were going to become a Am Yisrael, a nation that is not dependent on country, a nation that is not dependent on where they come from, but a nation that's dependent, that all together, all as one, do one thing in service of their master. So they had to do a mitzvah, they had to do something that would show that indeed as a nation they do something together. They did the Korban Pesach. They brought the Korban Pesach as something that was shared by family, shared by community. The only thing that was in union by everyone was the fact that they were all doing it in service of their master. And of course the Korban Pesach itself, something that was indeed in Egypt looked upon as an idol. As we know, in those days, sheep and goats were the idol of the Egyptians. Klal Yisrael showed their faith, and they showed that indeed they did not look at any physical understanding of what's going on around them. It didn't matter whatsoever. If their master wanted them to take a sheep, if he wanted them to take this and bring it as a Korban Pesach, they would do that without question, without doubt. And that indeed was the final preparation for them to leave their enslavement to a human master. For them to understand that the entire time that they were in Egypt was not as they were enslaved by a human master, but instead it was the will of the real master. It was the will of the creator of the world. And indeed with that they were able to leave Mitzrayim. Of course, as we know, as they left, what happened? The Egyptians decided we're going to run after them. The physical around them is there to try and shield the clarity that they just gained. It was there to try and show them maybe the physical does have some power. So Hashem goes and Hashem sends a cloud to go behind them. The Anan HaKavod, to show them the physical means nothing. Human beings can be behind you and throw spears and rocks and whatever they could, and I can send a cloud that you can touch and you can see that it has no physical capability, and this cloud will not only catch all those that are spears that are being thrown at it, but it will actually return them to sender. Again, showing Klal Yisrael, the physical means absolutely nothing. But Klal Yisrael was still on the bend. Klal Yisrael was still unclear of how far you have to go in understanding that the physical means nothing, and on the other hand, knowing that you are obligated to take the physical and turn it into something spiritual. Klal Yisrael reaches the Yam Suf. Klal Yisrael sees the river before them and sees the Egyptians behind them. They see physical as nothing, so they go and they pray. They scream to Hashem and they say, there is absolutely no physical, it's on you to continue our journey. But Hashem tells Moshe there is a two-way street. On one hand, I want you to ignore the physical and understand that it's all coming from me. On the other hand, because indeed it's all from me and for me, you need to do your part as a physical being in a physical world to show that the physical means nothing. And indeed, as we know, Nachshon ben Aminadav had to jump in to the water, had to show that physically he can conquer any physical in this world in service of Hashem. And indeed, at that moment, the water split. Indeed, at that moment, the physical disappeared. And the physical world itself admitted and said, yes, indeed, if you are walking in service of your master, I cannot stand in your way. If you are walking in service of your master to uplift the physical world to a spiritual service, of course, every physical matter will be moved out of your way. And Klal Yisrael walks through the water. The Egyptians, of course, say, we can do this too. We have our own will. We have our own master. And we too can walk into the water. And for that, Hashem says, not only will you not be able to walk through the physical, not only will you not be able to conquer the physical world, but indeed the physical world will destroy you and then spit you out. Indeed, the physical world will show that someone who comes with their own will, someone who comes with the intent of being a master over the physical world will always lose. However, if one comes as a servant, if one comes in the service of Hashem, then of course the physical world will move away from their path. Klal Yisrael comes out of that. Klal Yisrael comes out of Kriyas Yamsuf, and of course what do? They start singing. They start praising Hashem, their master, for showing them that there is a clear line in this world. If you are in service of your master, nothing can stand in your way. And if you think that you are the master, everything will stand in your way. Klal Yisrael was so clear, they had a clear faith that we know that they were able to see Hashem. What does it mean to see? They were able to see in 1 second how everything makes sense. The difference between hearing and seeing, when somebody hears something, he gets pieces of information slowly, and in his brain, in his mind, he has to put together the puzzle to be able to see the picture. But when someone sees something, in the blink of an eye, you see the entire picture. When Klal Yisrael walked out of the Yam Suf, when Klal Yisrael walked out of that clarity, they were able to see. They were able to see Hashem. What does it mean? They were able to see not an image, but they were able to see that everything in this world works in the service of Hashem. They were able to see that even the things that were created in a physical way, that seemed to be working on their own time, are all in service of Hashem. And that's what it means, that they were able to reach a level of clarity of seeing Hashem in everything. Everything around them, all they saw was Hashem. All they saw was what the Master wants them to do, and where the Master wants them to go, and how the Master wants them to behave. And this was, of course, the level of clarity that they needed to reach before moving on to continue in their journey to become the nation that will be called Am Hashem, a nation of Hashem, which of course we will continue to discuss in the coming episodes. Thank you again for joining me in this conversation. As mentioned previously, we also have a weekly podcast, Rabbi Yankala's podcast, talking about the Parshas HaShavua. You can find it wherever you listen to podcasts or on YouTube. If you know someone that might enjoy this podcast, please share it with them and send us your feedback. Thank you and have a wonderful day.